Hello to everyone. You are watching Startup Booster, an online guide that will help you to create and develop your business, your startup. This video course was created by global platform for startups and investors, InnMind.com. InnMind connects startups, professionals in the sphere of innovations, helps startups to find investors, mentors, and experts, provides with instruments and resources for growth and development of their business, supports investors with expertise and due diligence. I'm Katerina, co-founder of InnMind.com, and our guest today is Fred Joye, tech investor, co-founder of Arcanys Labs. Hello, Fred.
Hello, Katerina. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm very glad to see you here with us. So the topic of our discussion today will be management of a technical team. Fred, the first question would be, what are the major participants, what are the major members of a technical team in a startup?
Yeah, so there are, I would say, multiple participants in a tech team, and it starts actually with a business person, which is the product owner or the person who actually tells the team what she wants to build through discussions, requirements, and different kinds of documents. And then I would say there are different people that work at different times in the project, in a tech project. So at the beginning of a project, we have people that help with defining the requirements, because requirements in any projects are, I would say, the main point to start to be able to evaluate how a project would work, how much time it's going to take, what are the technologies that are going to be involved. And so this is mostly done with graphic designers and business analysts. So the graphic designer's role is to actually design how the interface would look like, and the business analyst is here to understand what the business really needs and translates these needs into understandable technical requirements for developers to be able to build the system. I would say after that stage, what is really important as well is to have an architect. So it could be the chief technical officer, it could be an architect per se, or a lead developer that would, with the help of the requirements, define what is the architecture of a system to be able to be built. And once these questions about the requirements are solved, and the questions about what architecture the system needs for either a prototype or a full version of a product, then come in the developers. And in terms of developers, I would say we have like 2-3 main types of developers. So we have the front-end developers that are mostly tackling the user interfaces. We have the back-end developers that take care of the APIs and all the server-side heavy lifting. And sometimes we have people that we call DevOps that do a bit of development and take care of the infrastructure part of the project, which is like the hosting of the cloud services and things like that. And I would say one important person as well is someone who's managing the project. So some would say it's a project manager, and in our cases we try to avoid having too many project managers that are not really part of the project. And in our case, I would say the lead developer is partially managing the project, because he really knows what the project entails, since he's coding in the project. And one last person I would say in the process is a tester. We want to make sure that the quality of the code of the product that is released is of good quality. So we have a QA team that will actually perform different kinds of testing. It could be manual testing or automated testing to make sure that the product is up to quality before releasing it to users.
Okay, you have just raised a very important topic that not only developers represent a technical team, but actually before them there are many more roles to be covered and to be taken by people, by responsibles in the team. So it's business oriented people, and in the end there should be this one more very important person who is testing the whole system, how it works. Could you give some recommendations how a startup could find those participants, how a startup could find all those people to take up the roles?
I think there are different ways to find these people. So it depends what kind of startup it is and at what stage they are at. So there's one way to find it is to go to a company and say like, look, I want to develop a product, and then what can you help me with? And then most of development companies, be it on site or outsourced, they probably would be able to fulfill the roles of design, business analysis, development, testing, architecture, and all these things. Now, if you more are looking at, I would say, building your own team, then I think most of the startups that we know, it happens with like people who introduce other people, or they go to networking events and then they mention that they're looking for co-founders. I know that there are also some, I think, communities online where you can, when you can post like, I think there is some website where you can find like co-founders for technical co-founders or business co-founders and things like that. Or of course, there's another one that works pretty well, which is LinkedIn. It's reaching out to people that have the profiles that you want. And if you, I think, have an interesting project, some people would be interested in probably joining at least part-time your startup.
Okay, so and the first, did I understand you correctly, that the first way that you mentioned, it was mostly similar to outsourcing. So you come to the company and you outsource.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe not the number one, but it's one way of like, if you want to start an idea and you don't know where to find the people, or you don't have the team for you, then you might want to start by looking at a company that is, I mean, its business is actually to build technical product for people. Then it depends if you want later to build your own team or keep on working with an outsourced company, like a local one or not a local one. So it really depends. I think that if you are building a tech company, at some point you need to have your CTO in-house. You need to find someone that would be able to fill this role, simply for like investors, because if you're completely outsourcing the whole tech and your company is tech product, then they would be a bit wary of like having all the IP owned by someone else.
So now we're coming to the very crucial question: can a non-technical person, at least in the very beginning, manage technical team, or it should be for sure internal CTO of a startup?
I would say they can. A non-technical person can manage a tech team, but it's probably not going to be going very well. We've seen it many times, and we run into many problems. The first one is that usually business people, they don't understand how the development goes. They don't understand why things take a long time or need to be more specified. And they need to they don't understand the exact process of how software development has to go, and so it's a complex thing to do. And if you really want to be very efficient with your startup as a business person, you can have great ideas, but you need to find someone who at least part-time will help you manage your tech team and really understands technology and how it's done. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think it's making it very difficult and increasing the chances of failure.
Mm-hmm. And I heard from what you said previously that for the investor, it will be quite a negative factor to see that there is no internal person if the startup is technological.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because it's the core business, right? So I think someone needs to understand the technology on which the business is built.
Mm-hmm. And what are the factors? What are probably the points that should be considered while managing the tech team in comparison, for example, to management of the simple project team?
Well, it is project management, but I think there is a process aspect that is linked to of course process management, but any project management. But then there's a lot of technical aspects also to take into account, and specific knowledge and understanding all the kinds of different issues that can happen during development projects. So it's so much knowledge and processes to go through, and there's so many things that can go wrong. So that you really need to have like technical people that can really assess on a very, very close basis what is happening. It's like when you're building a house or something, you send inspectors to check out like if things go according to plan, and those are technical people who do that.
And what are the major mistakes in managing a technical team?
From a non-technical person, you mean? Or
from a non-technical person, yes, or maybe from a technical as well. So what are the mistakes or weak points in managing a technical team that can be taken into consideration?
So I think one of the worst mistakes is mismanagement of requirements. So it's about changing requirements all the time and not having a clear idea from the start and sticking to that idea. So we know that things can change as it goes, but I think the big idea must be here, and then it must be clear in milestones. It needs to be very organized, and it kind of goes to another question that was like, what does the agile method of development imply? And some people take this, I would say, agile way a bit too far, thinking they could change their requirements every 5 minutes and be lean and quick and fast. And you can release stuff pretty quickly, but if you change your mind all the time, then nothing gets done. So I think this is the major mistake, because at the end, it costs a lot of money, and it can mean that there's no product that goes out, and there's a lot of money that is wasted. And usually startups, they don't have unlimited amounts of money.
Probably that's a topic for the next video, but just for you as for the investor as well, what is the most important for the startup? To be on the same direction as they chose in the very beginning, or to have lots of different hypotheses and change them, but being this kind of way, like not probably following the same direction, changing it, and like what would be the best choice of a startup?
I think it's a mix. So when you are building your first product, I think you have to stick to your first idea until you can actually ship something to users. So you need to have some kind of like basic product that you can ship to users, and this is when you're actually going to see how users react to your product. And this is when you can actually be very lean and agile by releasing something, looking at the reaction, changing, and then releasing something new. I mean, developing, releasing something new, and see how it sticks with the users, and learn from their feedback, and look at them use the software. So I would say lots of people, they waste a lot of time like trying to release the perfect product that people will love and stuff like that, and they don't test it with anyone, and they just think in their mind and then change things and stuff like that. But actually, you need to get out. You need to be able to have people use it. So some people say that if you're not ashamed by the first product you release, is because you've released too late. And so, meaning that your first product shouldn't be perfect, but it should be usable and it should give you directions towards what you want to give to your users.
Mm-hmm. That's what we discussed in one of our previous episodes with marketing specialist Dontas Jonica, said you should basically start communicating with your users, with your final clients in the very, very early stage, when even your product is not complete, is not ready. You already get the feedback. You already know what they're saying. You already know what expectations they have about your idea.
But you should be also sometimes careful about listening too much to their feedback. Sometimes they don't always know exactly what they want, and then so you have to stick to your original idea, but then of course you have to listen a little bit to what they say. But if you believe that you have something that is a breakthrough, then you have to also follow your idea until you get something that's usable. So it's like a bit of a mix between what you believe in and what your users or test users are saying.
Mm-hmm. So it's always about the balance. It's all everywhere about the balance. So the next question is, let's get back to the management of the technical team. Probably you could recommend some software for the project management, how you organize work in Arcanys labs, for example.
So we need to be very organized because we have like 30 projects running at the same time all the time. And so we have a series of softwares that help us for different things. I would say mostly we use Jira from Atlassian. It's an Australian company. It's the market leader in project management tools for software. They also have a lot of plugins that you can use besides managing tasks, tickets, and stuff like that. You can also do time management. You can do reporting. And things like that. So I would say for us, the spine of our business runs with Jira. And then for some, so I would say that's for the development part. And then you have to have a software, a service like GitHub to do a code repository where you merge your code, you manage your code. So all the project is managed, I would say, neatly in terms of the software that you release. And then what we use as well for communication with like different team members, for quick communication, we use Skype or Slack, depending on the preferences of the clients. So that goes for video calls or voice calls or even chat rooms. And for some other, I would say, concerns or discussions, then we use email. I would say that's really like the basic thing. We send a lot of reporting via email to our clients, so that could be done also from like the lead developer to the business owner, so he knows where his project's going and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I see. So did I understand you correctly? In the beginning, you said that all the tasks should be very specific. They should be very precise. Does it mean that there is kind of no room for creativity for those technical people? So they are basically given the task to do, and then they cannot make one step left, one step right, or there is still some things to change. Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of creativity on how they would implement the solutions technically that would make the system work more efficiently and better. Now, when the business owner tells you, I want my user to be able to log in the system, I think you don't have room for creativity in like how you will do this or what you will do with it. You need to create an account to be able to create an account. So I think the creativity is how you implement really things, but it's not like what you're going to give to the business owner. And this is why requirements at the beginning are very important, is what is the expected result. But I think developers know best how to do things, and then maybe some things don't really make sense at some point, so then they have to raise the issue to the one who's managing the project, and then question, is this really necessary, because for a reason or another this doesn't make much sense. And so of course it's a duty from the developers to do that, but usually like we need to have a clear direction on what the software is going to do. Now how it does it, it's another issue.
And my last question would be, maybe you could recommend some literature, some articles, or some material for managers to read about management of a technical team in particular.
I don't have that much actually. For us, it really comes from experience. But there's one resource that I like. I think it's Quora. Because you can ask all sorts of questions, and a lot of people who start startups ask about how to manage a software project, and people respond, and then they redirect to different resources that can be pretty useful. And I think it depends also in terms of team management. Are you someone who's technical, or are you someone who's not technical? Because it depends what your role is, so that you can have different ways of managing things, and maybe having other people to help you managing the project at different times. So I would maybe start with Quora as a good way to start.
Mm-hmm. So the founders, so the members of a team can write their questions, and they don't have to read what is already written. They can, they can.
Exactly. So there's a lot of questions that are written already, and there's one other thing that I can only recommend is the webinar we did about how to manage a tech team. I think it's also answering a lot of questions. I've done this talk, and my business partner as well, to a lot of startups, and I think the feedback was very good. I was actually impressed by how helpful it seems it was. So I would also recommend this one, and then we give also a few resources there.
Yes, exactly. We will give the link to this webinar, and there are some useful files, useful materials that Fred has provided us with to share with startups. So we can also, if you request, when you request, we can provide you with some extra materials. All right, so today we covered a very important topic for an IT, for a technical project, for a technical startup, how to manage your technical team, and what is the difference between traditional team management in just any project, and team management in a technical project. So thank you so much, Frederic, for joining us today, and we will meet in the next interview. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.